Guys, I'm going to need you to sit down for this one because I just watched ANORA in theaters and I cannot wait to tell you guys about it. So ANORA is the newest movie directed, written, and edited by Sean Baker. He's done a lot of movies in the past that have pretty well been acclaimed. Tangerine, The Florida Project, Red Rocket. But this one's getting a lot of acclaim, especially because it was released at Cannes Film Festival and won the Palme d'Or, so the movie of the festival. So this is kind of his most acclaimed one so far. It was getting a lot of praise. I wish it was getting a wider release, but I was able to see this and Nick was not able to see this yet, unfortunately. So we may do another review when Nick gets a chance to watch this one. But I was just floored by this movie. This is one that's going to stick with me for a while. This is something special. I think it accomplished the goal that I didn't really even know what goal it was setting out to accomplish in the beginning, but this is a movie about a stripper or potentially a sex worker. It's kind of a contentious point in the movie. We'll get into it, but it portrays her in such a humanizing, level-headed, realistic light. And that's the whole thing with this movie, is everything just feels so true and authentic and realistic. There's a lot of humor all throughout this, which I wasn't necessarily anticipating. I thought this might be kind of an emotional movie, and it is emotional, but it takes you through the whole gambit of emotions, and like I said, a lot more humor than I anticipated, but very realistic, grounded humor. But the star-making performance here, I mean, if she wasn't already a star, is Mikey Madison as our main character, ANORA, or she goes by Annie in the movie. But that performance is just outstanding. I mean, this girl has got to get an Oscar for this. I don't know what they're doing if she doesn't get an Oscar for this performance, or at least get a nomination. She's got to. And this might be a contender for Best Picture. And not even just at the Oscars. I mean, who really cares how the Oscars go? But in my mind, this is for sure one of the movies of the year, one of the movies to look out for. There's just something so authentic and refreshing about the storytelling here. The editing is really fantastic. It's punchy. It keeps you interested the whole time. This is a movie with a relatively long runtime, but it never feels its length at all because it keeps you interested in what's going to happen to these characters next through the whole thing. And I think it does a great job of presenting not only ANORA as this sex worker who's also, it's not presented as this one-dimensional thing. Even the other strippers who work with her are not presented as this one-dimensional, like all they are is strippers. They're complicated people with life stories, and so I thought that was all handled really well with care. But ANORA's personality just shines through as soon as you meet her in the movie, and that's pretty immediately. And her personality is just so brassy.
Annie, I got a kid who wants someone who speaks Russian. Let's go.
No, I'm eating my food.
You're killing me. He's a spender. Come on, let's go.
And enigmatic and memorable.
We are consenting adults.
If you think this is going to be allowed, you're dead wrong.
Do not touch me.
This movie just really early on just kind of transports you to a point where you don't even feel like you're watching a movie anymore. You can't look away from the screen because it's like you're peering into a little window of somebody's personal life for a window of time that was really tumultuous in their lives. And this is not the most complicated story ever, but I don't want to give away too much about what's going on in this movie. You can tell by the trailers a few things, and I'll get into that. But I don't want to give too much away about how this all unfolds. But besides Mikey Madison as our main performance here, we've got the son of a Russian oligarch who goes by Vanya. His name's Ivan in the movie, but he goes by Vanya, played by Mark Eidelstein. And I had never seen this guy in anything before. This might be his first role ever, but I thought he did a great job portraying this very immature, very lax about everything, very hedonistic kid who is likable, and he'd be great at parties, and you kind of want to hang out with him. And I think he's meant to be likable for sure, but he obviously doesn't take anything seriously. He kind of laughs everything off. He's the kind of person you could never have any kind of serious conversation with, and he's just a child, and he's still attached to the hip to his mother, even though he has a poor relationship with both of his parents. But he's a Russian oligarch's kid. He's on vacation in America, and he's got his parents, well, he's got his godfather who is entrusted to take care of him, especially when he's away from home. And his godfather has these two goons who play a role later. But the basic structure is, without getting into any spoilers, the basic structure is you've got the stripper who lives in a Russian-speaking portion of Brooklyn and works at a real high-end strip club called HQ in Manhattan. And a client at the strip, or a customer at the strip club, requests a stripper who speaks Russian, and Annie fits the bill. She's the only one there that fits the bill. So she meets this Russian oligarch's kid. He really likes her, and one thing leads to another, and he ends up, and the trailers tell you this, but he ends up married to this girl. They get married in a Vegas chapel, and everything happens really fast. It's a whirlwind romance. But it's very much an infatuation. But you can tell both of them like each other a lot, and you can tell that Anora is very Twitter-pated in this whole situation. But you don't think of her as naive. She's not portrayed as dumb. She's very boisterous and loud and unabashedly, unapologetically, unself-censoring. She's loud, and her personality is proud everywhere she goes. But I think the cool thing is they don't make her seem like this fragile little flower petal that could be bruised so easily. I think they do a good job of making sure you know as the audience that this girl's going to be just fine. She can take care of herself. Whatever happens to her, whether things go her way or not, by the end of the movie, you can kind of tell yourself a story about how, well, she does make things work for herself in the end. And if she doesn't, she's still going to be able to handle whatever life throws at her and whatever tough things she has to deal with. Because this is not portrayed as an easy life, but it's also not, it's simultaneously not sugarcoating anything, and it's not making anything look worse than it is, or dirtier than it is, or more repugnant than it is. It's just all handled with this, like, there's some beauty in the profane, and so there's some profaneness here, but they show you the silver linings around some of this. But it's just, like I said, it's funny in the way that real life is funny. It's not funny in...
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
It can be a little screwball, but it's funny in the way real life is funny, I think.
Right. Funny how?
And I thought that made it really impactful. But everything is so realistic. Like I said, it just does not feel like you're watching a movie at all. Not to lead you to believe that this movie is twisty, or that there's going to be some big reveal that blows your mind or anything like that.
What a twist!
But I did feel like I was always interested in how the plot's going to unfold next. What's going to happen next? Because it does, I think, keep you guessing, and it does keep you intrigued, and it leaves you with a lot of thoughts afterwards. And I think one of the points of this movie is to show you slices of life from kind of the underappreciated parts, people of the world, and show you stories that are being experienced by those people that are universally understood. And it humanizes these people to a degree. And I think it does so much better than any like lecture or speech about how sex work is, or sex positive speeches or anything like that, because it tells you a story, and stories are so good at changing people's mindsets about things. And so without even noticing, if you went into this with some level of disdain, and I guess I don't know why you'd go see this movie, but if you went into this with some level of disdain in your heart toward the sex workers of the world, or the immigrants of the world, or he tends to tell these kind of stories, I think you'll leave it maybe even finding bits of that you didn't even know were there. Like, you're like, oh, you know what? I have been, even though I didn't know it, I have kind of thought of maybe sex workers, or maybe immigrants, or maybe yada, 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 fill in the blank, as a little bit less than, but we are all human. So I think that's a really important message. I think it's worth making a movie about, but it doesn't feel heavy-handed with that at all. This isn't a movie that feels like so self-important that it's beating you over the head with anything. These are just the messages you notice that you're sitting with after the movie's over. And I thought that was really cool. I really don't have a lot of complaints. The things that felt like they might have felt like complaints, I mean, I am nitpicking this movie, but the things that at first felt like they might be complaints, really ultimately when I thought about them, don't feel like them anymore. But I will say that without telling you anything about what happens, the ending of the movie does make for a rather awkward walking out of the theater moment. And I won't say more about it than that, but I think it was so effective for what it was trying to do. I can see people falling on both sides of how they feel about the ending, but for me, the ending was very effective. It's just, if you watch this in a theater full of people, It's a little weird. I kind of was in a hurry to get out of there because it's just a weird thing to experience with a lot of people. It feels very personal, very private, and very, like I said, just peering into the private life of someone else. And I think that's a very, this is what movies are all about for me, is giving you a little taste of what it would be like to live life through somebody else's eyes. And I think it's cool because you do feel not sympathy so much, because like I said, you feel like she can stick up for herself, but you feel empathy the whole time for her, because when she's infatuated in love, you can sympathize with her, or you can empathize with that, you can feel that. And when she's stressed out, or when she's frustrated by something, you're feeling frustrated too. And this was one that really, I say this a lot, but this one really had me twist into my seat. I mean, I could not sit still in my seat because so many things are happening to this girl that are so frustrating for you as the audience member, because she is our surrogate. You know, we're living our lives through her eyes here. So it's just a movie that's going to stick with me for a long time. I find myself thinking about it. I cannot stop thinking about it since I saw it. This is really one of the best movies of the year, and I might end up finding out that this is my favorite movie of the year. There's some things in competition, so we'll see how it lands. But this is absolutely in my top 5 of the year. Just a really astounding thing to see. A really human story, really relatable, even though like I have very little in common on paper with this main character here in my personal life. It feels so relatable at the same time, and that's what you want a movie to do. So I couldn't possibly recommend this movie enough. I can't wait to see what Sean Baker's got next. I can't wait to see what Mikey has next. I would be interested to see all of these actors. I didn't mention anybody else, but all of the actors here do such a great job of filling that role that they were meant to fill. There's the goons that show up that are the Godfather's goons. They make for some of the most comedy in this. They do a pitch perfect job. One of the two goons makes for more of the comedy, but they both have some funny parts. But there's also some, showing you both sides of a person and showing you the complexities of a person too there. So nobody is just a one note. There's the black hat guys and the white hat guys. It's all very complicated and messy, and it just feels like life. So I think that's a good place to end it. I highly recommend this movie. I think I would, honest to God, I think we got another 10 on our hands. I don't have really any notes. The more I think about it, the more I'm in love with this movie. So 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Go see this in theaters if you get a chance to. It's not in theaters everywhere yet. That's why I'm avoiding spoiling anything about it. But I hope you get a chance to see this. And if you can't see it in theaters, stream this as soon as you possibly can. This is one not to miss this year, guys. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Comment below if you've seen this movie, or if you've seen other Sean Baker movies. Maybe talk about those in the comments. Rank them, whatever you want to do. What a great time at the theater. We'll catch you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.